The problem with dollar cost averaging is it still keeps the dollar at the center. Like you're literally in the name of it, like dollar cost averaging, focused on the dollar amount of Bitcoin that you get, and then just setting that into Bitcoin on a cadence. So I guess if you just mean like buying Bitcoin on a schedule, that's fine and good. Like that can be beneficial and has been beneficial for a lot of people, a ton of people, including myself also, okay? So I guess it's a little bit exaggerative to be like, oh, it's bad in and of itself. It's not bad. It's not bad. The one problem with it, the one downside with it, is after you've been doing it for a long time, sometimes the habit of just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin holds you back from going more all in. Now, maybe going all in isn't your goal, but the more that you kind of stick around Bitcoin and understand just straight up differences between Bitcoin and dollars, you are most likely going to want to, like, quote unquote, go all in, or you'll just gradually find yourself with the weighting of holding more Bitcoin than you do dollars. And that's where my brain goes now. Is it's not so much about, oh, like what like regardless of what strategy or how often you're purchasing, or if you see it as buying Bitcoin, or if you track the dollar amount of your Bitcoin, what you want to understand is just simply every single day you can ask yourself, which currency is better for this stored labor that I have saved up? Are dollars better, or is Bitcoin better? And every single day, with every pile of money, you have your chance to re-ask yourself that same question. I think sometimes dollar cost averaging can just continue mentally to keep dollars at the forefront, and we kind of just assume that dollars will always be at the forefront when we say that, when I actually don't believe that. Like, I actually believe the end game of Bitcoin is that it's going to replace fiat money. It's going to become the global reserve currency, and it will be the actual base money that everyone holds. And so the sooner that you can kind of flip your brain into that mode, I believe you're going to have more success with Bitcoin, and you're going to go farther. You're going to end up stacking more of it than kind of continuing to just play by dollar cost averaging only, okay? So that's why I talk about, like, you finding a Bitcoin unit goal. I talk about 0.21 just because I think it's a sizable, significant enough amount that is still attainable for a lot of people, that I think is a helpful thing. And just the kind of being in the top 1% of Bitcoin holders is like just another thing, okay? So, and then whether you're taking it 0.01 at the time or 0.001 at the time, that's all that means also is like just those are sizable purchases that you can make on a schedule. But rather than having it be, again, $100 every month, have it be $109 every month. Like, focus on getting that Bitcoin unit so that you can be stacking even Bitcoin units. And I just really believe like that mental trick is what takes off, like it's what supercharges kind of your Bitcoin stacking, and it's what will help you hit bigger goals, and it's what will help you get more skin in the game about learning. It just really, when you do it based on Bitcoin units, when you're stacking Bitcoin units instead of dollar cost averaging, you're really forcing yourself to come to terms with, yes, this is a currency in and of itself with its own units, and I'm stacking those units. If someone's like, oh, how much Bitcoin do you have? You know, you can answer with the Bitcoin units themselves, not like, oh, I have X dollars of Bitcoin, okay? Both are helpful in different contexts, but it's just a little bit of that shift. Another thing that I used to talk a little bit about is like, rather than saying like price, oh, what's the price of Bitcoin? You can also just switch it up on certain people and just be like, oh yeah, the exchange rate. Yeah, the exchange rate. Because you don't really think about like dollars or pesos having a price. They're quoted in the exchange rate. So that's just another way to kind of like, if you're trying to orange pill other people in your life, just mix up different things like that and ask them, push them a little bit to just be like, well, how many units do you have? And also, side note on this about the whole like talking about how much Bitcoin you have or whatever. Obviously that's not you don't talk to everyone about that all the time. Like, absolutely. The same way you wouldn't talk about like how much money or like dollars you have in a bank account, for sure. But I think talking openly with people that you do talk personal finances with about Bitcoin units themselves, of like, oh, like, I don't know. I think there is a time and a place for that. Obviously, it has to be sensitive. It's you choose like when to do it, but I think there is a time and a place for that. And I think about how, you know, real estate investors, like a real estate investor has no problem being like, oh, like how many rental properties do you own? Like, oh, I own 2 rental properties. Like there's kind of like, I'm still toying around with this actually. I don't have a hard thing that I think about it, but I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that real estate investors can just talk openly about how many properties they have, but then when you talk about like how much money you have in a bank account or how much Bitcoin you have, there's like, that's a difference. But honestly, that's what equates Bitcoin more closely with money in that context than, you know, other forms of investments, I guess. So that's just kind of funny. But yeah, that's a brand, that's like a open functioning thought that I'm still working through right now. But that's the problem with dollar cost averaging. It keeps dollars at the front when you really want to start to flip and put Bitcoin units at the forefront, having a Bitcoin stacking goal. I thought of another thing. It actually is kind of like real estate in terms of like, when you're buying real estate, you're not being like, oh, my goal is to own $100,000 of real estate, or my goal is to own $50,000 of real estate. No, your goal is to be like, or $500,000 of real estate. Your goal is to be like, oh no, I want to own a rental property, or I want to own a house. Like, it's the unit. Like, the unit is the thing. And it could be a cheap house or an expensive house or whatever. Like, the price of the house can be whatever, but the unit is what matters. And your goal and your mindset is on like getting that unit. It should be the same with Bitcoin. Like, you should flip and be passionate about the unit of Bitcoin. Oh, my goal is to hit 0.1 of Bitcoin. My goal is to hit 0.21 of Bitcoin. And then you break down the goal and you do it that little bit at a time. When you're saying, oh, I'm dollar cost averaging Bitcoin, your intent is always that like, oh, the dollar price of this is the main thing that matters, and I'm going to watch that go up or watch that increase. Whereas no, the unit, like, I believe the unit themselves, like, of Bitcoin is a bigger deal than index funds or stocks or anything else like that. And so mainly a little bit of nuance, a little bit of rambling, but the more that you can change your intention to be focused on the Bitcoin units themselves, the more success you're going to have in Bitcoin personal finance. But let me know in the comments what you think about this, because we're doing it live right now. Part of what I love about Bitcoin and love about personal finance on YouTube is it's new. Like, it's new. There's no, we haven't had to deal with a hard cap currency, open source currency on the internet being more successful than fiat dollars before ever. And so that's changing personal finance in real time. And that's super, super, super exciting.